Hello, everybody, to another weekend of Black College Experience. It is, one and only Keisha Kelly out in Atlanta, Georgia. And, of course, I have my co-host, Derek, rolling with us out in Baton Rouge. If you listen, you can always call in at 877-279-3109. Again, that's 877-279-3109. We have a list. We have a great lineup, a great show, and we do have a guest that is going to be joining us tonight. Michell, which graduated from Howard University. He also played basketball. So we're just going to hop right on into this thing. Derek, where you at?
Man, first off, before we get started, I have to say prayers for my hometown and all the other places that are affected by the flooding that's going on. So those of you know, in 2016, I was affected by a flood here in Baton Rouge. So I know what those individuals are facing. And I'm just going to pray for everyone that's affected by the flood everywhere in the South, especially in my hometown of Jackson.
Okay.
Keisha, you on speakerphone?
All
right. So, getting a lot of feedback. Are you on speakerphone?
I'm not on speakerphone,
okay, no. All right. So, yes, we are going to have a guest tonight, Antonio Michell, a graduate of Howard University. We're not going to tell you the surprise. If you want to know his story, you can check out our post or tune in. But we have a lot to talk about tonight before he calls in. First up, and this is something that has been buzzing on social media, Kels. When I saw you post about it, of course, you know how me and you kind of go back and forth on things. The HBCU Combine. I know that is something that has been buzzing across the HBCU landscape ever since it was posted. And then, of course, shared by you on your Facebook page and just all the discussions that have been taking place since the NFL decided to come out with an HBCU Combine. Because I think we have one invite to the National Invitation Combine. I think the offensive lineman Taylor out of South Carolina State. But we're going to have this specific HBCU / international players regional combine in Miami. So, Kels, what are your thoughts on this HBCU Combine started by the NFL?
Well, when I initially saw it, which was by Undrafted Diamond, it was a great thing. I think one of my Jaguars, one of my alums, sent it to me, so when I initially saw it, I thought this was a great thing. And one of our things is we don't like division, and I'll touch that first, is because you want the asking, like, well, why does it have to be separate? Why is it this way? And why can't we do this? And I think I took a different approach, and I look at things differently as to, I see what you're saying in your aspect makes sense, but at the same time, I'm this person, like, you take the exposure how you get it. So however you can get the exposure, you take it and you do with that exposure whichever way you can. And even though it is like a separate combine, there's still going to be scouts on hand. There's still cameras. There's still eyes watching. So there's still the opportunity to do the same thing, to showcase the same talent, to showcase the same skills. I think it's a mindset that we have to develop that, hey, I feel better as these other athletes. I can still do the same thing. I still have the same opportunities. I have the same talent. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's just the way that people choose to perceive it. And of course, we're all going to perceive and receive things differently, and that's to be understood. But I think it's a long overdue process. It's something they should have been done because, of course, as they look at us as smaller schools, smaller universities, and it's just time for them to give opportunities to HBCU players, HBCU grads, those HBCU athletes of that caliber.
I definitely agree with you. Before I give my opinion, my line brother Patrick Perry is on. PP, how you doing tonight?
All right.
So, I ask you the same question that I asked Kels. What are your thoughts and opinions on? And of course, this is the first time that this has happened. Michael Flournoy from Grambling said that he was the lone HBCU player to speak at one of the first HBCU Combines. So I'm glad to see it come back. But what are your thoughts and opinions on this HBCU Combine making its return?
It's been long overdue. Like I say, gives everybody a chance to be looked at. I mean, NFL, it's done by the NFL, so NFL hires are going to be there. Plus, it prevents all of that. Like what happened with Alcorn, I don't know if it was last year or it was a couple of years ago. When you do a pro day and you invite people and nobody show up, well,
Correct.
NFL, yeah. So if you're good enough, if the NFL thinks you're good enough, or if you've got the accolades like first team all black stuff like that, you're going to probably get invited and you're going to get a chance to show what you got as far as in front of the people that need to see it. Like at a Alabama State Pro Day, there was somebody last year that I believe ran a 4.3 or whatever, but if it wasn't hardly anybody there to pay attention to it, I mean, it's hardly any good. So I'm glad it is making a comeback, not only for SWAC and MEAC, of course, but some of the sub D1 teams, and it gives those players a chance to get noted.
Now, that is one thing that I do like. Now, when I first saw this, and I'm gonna speak in the mindset that I had when I come in on your post skills, because I watched the combine. I'm one of those people who I watched the combine, and I look at the times, I look at the stats, I look at it all for players that I know of. A lot of the players that may have Mississippi ties, or just players that I followed. And unfortunately, the past couple of years, they have not been enough HBCU players. So one of my main reactions was, is this going to get the same type of exposure that the National Invitation Combine is going to get? And there have been regional combines before, and it's hard to find the information from those combines. You have to really, really search for it. Someone has to put it out there. And I feel like if they're going to put this combine on, showcasing HBCU players and, of course, international players, don't want to forget about them, I feel like they need to make the information readily available to members of the HBCU media so that we can discuss how our players perform or how they measure up versus players at the National Invitation Combine. And I did send an email to that combine email asking for that information whenever it is, gathered or compiled. Because, like PP said, there's a young man that ran a 4.3, and there wasn't a lot of scouts there to see. A good friend of mine named Dean, who covers the Saints, but a couple of years ago, he went on an HBCU scouting combine trips. And he was telling me, Derek, there aren't a lot of scouts here. There's some young men that are putting in some good times, and they're no one's here to really see it. So while I'm glad and excited that our HBCU players are going to get a spotlight shown on them, I feel like we still deserve the big spotlight. We deserve just as much exposure as the athletes at the National Invitation Combine. And I'm going to also take a page from Keisha's book. I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly on your point of view. I don't want the HBCU, they already look at us, like you said, as second best or whatever. But I feel like if you're gonna put this on, give it the same amount of exposure or somewhat similar exposure that you're gonna do the national invitation comeback. We know how much money they put into that, So I just want to be able to get the data so that we can discuss it, and also compare. The 40 times or our HBCU best versus the FBS best. What if somebody from an HBCU runs the fastest of 40? What's the guy ran a 4.22 last year or 4.24 last year, PP? What if we have somebody that runs a 4.22? Is that going to replace the record? Because hey, these times at these regional combines, do they put them down as combine records? I mean, it would be nice to have an HBCU player have one of the fastest times or break records at this HBCU combine and have those records stand and be shown compared to all the records that they've kept over time at the National Invitation Combine. So I'm excited for it. I can't wait to see what players are going to partake across the HBCU landscape. Like PP said, Division II, NAIA, you know what I'm saying? These guys are going to get a chance to showcase their abilities in front of NFL scouts. And like Keisha said, that's what's most important. And I just want to see the data. I'm a computer nerd. I want to see the information so we can talk about it. Another good bit of HBCU news that's good that we want to talk about. And this is Torrey Woodbury, a Winston-Salem State legend, getting added to the Los Angeles Rams coaching staff. I still want to call them St. Louis Rams coaching staff. Coach Woodbury has been a scout in the Rams system for a good while, and now he gets a chance to showcase his coaching ability as a part of the Rams staff. And I went and looked on his on his Twitter page. He's just giving all the praise and glory to God. And, because it's been a long time coming for him. He's been named assistant special teams coach for the Rams. And, hey, check this out. There has been an assistant special teams coach that worked his way up to special teams coordinator, wide receiver coach, and now he's a head coach of the New York Giants. If Torrey Woodbury can work his way up and potentially become an NFL head coach, hey, this is where he could potentially get his start. And Keisha, what do you think about Coach Woodbury getting a chance to showcase his coaching chops, even though it's special teams for the Rams?
I think it's a good thing. I mean, even though it's a start, and it's just like anything else with HBCUs, it's a small step in the right direction, and it's a seat at the table, and it's what we do with our seat at the table and how we progress and how we grow on the opportunities that we're given. So I think it is, even though, like you say, even though it's special teams, it doesn't matter. There could be a promotion next year, it could be a promotion the year after. So, it's a step in the right direction.
I agree with you. PP, what do you think about Coach Woodbury being promoted from scout to special teams coach?
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I mean, we definitely need more people from the HBCU, right, on these coaching staffs in the NFL. I mean, not just people that coach at a HBCU, but people that actually went there, so that when they get in these circles, as you said, they can, if they know that there's a player at a HBCU that nobody's hardly paying attention to, his coach can suggest him to him and get him in a camp or get him on a practice squad or something and give him that attention. I mean, it's an underutilized market that they are not paying attention to. You just have to, if you're an HBCU player coming out of college these days, you have to really just stand out in order to get out there like Leonard did a couple years ago, or the player from Alabama State last year. You just have to really, really stand out in order to get the NFL's attention like that.
That's correct. Now, our guest is on, so we're going to take a quick commercial break. And Keisha, you going to introduce the guest, or you want me to?
You can.
All
Somebody
right.
can.
So
That's fine. You can.
all right. So we're gonna take this quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with more Black College Experience.
I already knew that I was going to go to college, from a young age. I definitely want to major in political science. After that, I'm going to get my law degree. Then I'm going to come back to Detroit, boost the economy, become the mayor or something, try to make the situation better for other people. I feel like I owe it to the city. I'm determined. It's going to happen. My name is Justin, and I am your dividend.
All right, we're back with more Black College Experience, and now we have our guest on, and we're going to introduce our guest. His name is Antonio Michell. Did I say that correct?
Yes, Antonio Michell, that is correct.
And
Thank
he
you.
is a graduate of Howard University, and he is the author of the book, What Follows. Now, before I knew you wrote a book, me and you had interacted online before, and when you told me about your book, I was like, man, that's so cool, and I wanted to, definitely invite you on. And then we kind of lost touch, but then with these HBCU groups we have on Facebook, we found each other again, and then we were finally able to schedule to get you on, because I think, Kels, have we had anybody from Howard on before? An alum from Howard? Is he our first Howard alum?
I think, we've had somebody else on from Howard. We had the doctor on.
The doctor, yeah.
Okay.
The doctor was from Howard.
All right, but you're our first
He
Howard.
played basketball, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're a former Howard basketball player. So we want to thank you for joining us on the Black College Experience. And first off, let's tell our audience a little bit about who Antonio Michell is before we get into the book.
Yes, first off, I want to thank both of you for having me on the Black College Experience. It is such an honor to be here, and I appreciate you guys. A little bit about me. I'm from Montgomery County, Maryland. So for people that aren't familiar with this area, if you just think of like the Silver Spring area, Silver Spring, Maryland, which is a suburb just outside of Washington, D.C. I grew up there, and I started playing sports from a very young age, probably like third grade. I was into every single sport, basketball, football, soccer, baseball, you name it. I was playing year round. And I just gravitated towards basketball. I really started to excel at basketball to the point where it was funny back in elementary school when I was playing a rec league, like Montgomery County rec league. One of the teams that we would play against is Tacoma Park, and they had Steve Francis. So if you're familiar with Steve Francis went on to have a great NBA career, and he was one of the guys that I used to go head-to-head with in the Little League. And then I excelled from there and ended up getting recruited to go play high school basketball. And I played for a top-ranked coach, Stu Vetter. He's the same coach that coached Kevin Durant, as well as a bunch of other top-level athletes. So I started off playing under him, and when I got to varsity, I dominated at JV, but when I got to varsity, as I said, because he was coaching, like, I'm talking about 5-star players, I didn't see the playing time, and I wanted to get my shine as well. So I ended up transferring schools, and that's where I ended up getting my shine and was recruited to go play for Howard University.
So did you get a chance to school Steve Francis?
Say that again. Man, let me tell you, man.
Steve Francis?
He's not on the line, is it? He's not on the line, is
it? No, you're safe.
Yeah, we used to go back and forth, man. I mean, we were so young at that age, but we continued to play against each other all the way through middle school, actually. And his team was, they were like the dominant team in the league. They were blowing everybody out, and he was doing it. But we definitely had our battles, man, back and forth. And one other thing I forgot to mention that I wanted to mention is that I currently live in Baltimore, Maryland, with my beautiful wife and my beautiful daughter, my baby girl.
Awesome. How old is your daughter?
My daughter is 6 years old. She'll be 7, as a matter of fact, in just a few months.
Oh, man. Us girl dads, man,
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So talk to us about your career at Howard. Before that, talk about your recruitment to Howard. Who else offered you a scholarship? Was Howard your first choice? Were you always determined to maybe go to an HBCU? What were your choices like coming out of high school?
Well, it was funny. It's funny that you said that. My dream back then, especially because of the fact that it was, and we'll touch on the Fab Five a bit later, but my dream was to go play for Michigan, man. I wanted to play for the University of Michigan. I was a big-time UNL. Yeah, exactly. UNLV fan. And, you know, back then I absolutely, you know, as with like a lot of the kids that you see coming out now, you know, you wanted to, you saw what you saw on TV, that shine, you know, the big arenas, you know, it's what we knew. It's what they know.
Calling you a diaper dandy. Yeah, everyone wants that.
Exactly. You know, so that's what you see. You see those, that sparkling, bright lights, and that's what you wanted. And so it's a funny story. I was playing the school I ended up graduating from, Bullis High School, which is in Potomac, Maryland. One of the schools that we played against is Sidwell Friends. They were in our conference, and Sidwell Friends was having their annual basketball tournament. And if you don't know it, Sidwell Friends is the same school that the Obama girls went to, and before them, it was the school that Chelsea Clinton went to. So I'm aging myself now because I was there during the time Chelsea Clinton was there. You know, I didn't want to put that out there, but, you know, it's already out there. So anyway, we were playing in that tournament, and that's where the Howard coach was there. And I ended up being MVP of that tournament, and that was my senior year, and the Howard coach ended up talking to my mom after the game, and then that's how the whole recruiting process started, and I ended up going on a visit to Howard University, because to answer your question, Howard was not on my radar at all. My uncle used to play ball at Howard back in the day, and so he would always try to push me there, but, you know, I just never really paid it too much attention. But as soon as I stepped on campus, I was sold. That was it. Like, it's so hard to explain the HBCU experience. It's just something you feel, and it's something that's so hard to explain. But the moment I stepped foot on campus, I was sold, and I said, I'm going to Howard.
So you say your uncle went to Howard?
My uncle, yes. My uncle went to Howard a long, long, long time ago. And don't even get him started telling his stories. You know,
we want to hear. We had to get him on here one Sunday night. Did he? What sport did Uncle play?
Trust me. He played. He was a point guard, man. Point guard, just doing his thing, man. Just scoring buckets. But yeah, don't even get him started. But it was just. I mean, I just can't explain it, man. And now, did you want me to go into a little bit about my experience while at Howard playing?
Yeah, sure. Let's hear it.
So while I was at Howard, I mean, first of all, I already told you about how amazing the experience was, but playing sports at an HBCU was even more amazing. I mean, you talk about an atmosphere. Now, one of the things that these elite athletes nowadays, you know, when they want to go to the Dukes or the Michigans or whatever it might be, one of the things they say is the big arenas, the multi-million-dollar facilities, all of that. Now, Howard, we played in the Burr Gymnasium, and the Burr is small. I mean, you could even make an argument that there's high schools that have bigger gyms than Burr Gymnasium, but that is what made the atmosphere just rock. I mean, the games were like a party, and when that place was packed and just jamming, and we were playing against Florida A&M or Hampton, whoever it might be, it was just a scene like no other. And it was just an amazing experience. And if I'm not mistaken, are you from Louisiana or you live in Louisiana?
I live in Louisiana, but I'm from Mississippi.
From Mississippi. Okay. Well, you live in Louisiana, so I'm going to tell you a funny story about Louisiana. We played, this was my senior year, and we played against LSU. So LSU, that was always a highlight, too. In the beginning of the season, you know, the big schools, they would schedule, you know, us HBCUs or Howard, whoever it might be, and we would be their so-called cupcake on the schedule. Those were the money games where those big schools would pay the, you know, like a Howard University, big time money to come and play them and essentially take a loss. So we went to LSU, and I can't remember who they had at the time, but they were really good, nationally ranked, I believe, and we were down by 3 at halftime. We were going crazy. There was NBA scouts at the game because I want to say it might have been when they had Stromae Swift. I'm not sure, but they had some NBA talent on that team, and there were scouts in attendance. And so we were down by 3 at halftime. I mean, we were going crazy, just like in the locker room, just hollering, screaming, jumping up and down like we had just won the championship to only be down by 3 against LSU. Man, we come out in the second half, we end up losing by like 33 points. Man. So it was something. But just little things like that, little experiences like that are what made it absolutely amazing. Oh, one other thing I want to touch on when we were there, and I didn't realize it at the time, as crazy as that sounds, but before the game playing at LSU, there were some guys in the stands, like when we were warming up initially, and they were saying like, hey boy, you know, where is Howard? Where in the world is Howard? And they kept referring to us as boy. And as crazy as this sounds, I mean, maybe it's because I hadn't experienced anything like that, and I didn't really know back then at the time, it never occurred to me that was anything racial or anything. Because we were so used to heckling, and, you know, I'd been heckled even in high school. The whole boy thing didn't register to me until years later, believe it or not. And I was like, oh, my gosh, that was definitely like, you know, some racial tension there with them calling us boys and everything. So,
yeah, so the Kels.
Say that again.
He was talking to me. So let's go back into this. And, you know, you ended up in Howard, and we talk about oftentimes the PWIs, we talk about the larger arenas. Like, of course, now you have your Dukes, your Kentuckys, your Carolinas. Yeah. For you for you to choose Howard, and as they call Howard, the Mecca, you're in DC, and on that side, that's how they look at as Howard. To me, in my opinion, Howard is viewed on that side like North Carolina A&T is viewed on their side. So you have the divine university, this place that a lot of people dream about going to. So much greatness that has come out of Howard. And you talk about when you first went there. For generations to come after you, what do you tell students that might have that feeling like, okay, I'm stuck, I'm indecisive on where I might want to go, where I might want to play a sport? Do I choose a Howard? Do I choose a FAMU? Or do I continue to look at my Dukes, my North Carolinas, my Kentucky? What do you tell students that are pursuing that, you know, playing basketball, going to college? What do you tell those students that are stuck in between? Do I go here where I feel like I have more exposure, or do I go here to Howard University where I know I'm going to get the playing time and I can still be seen and I can still produce my craft and showcase my skill?
Absolutely. Great question. Well, my response is this, and, you know, like, and I don't want to be hypocritical because, like I said, when I was coming out, I mean, I dreamed of going to Michigan and all of that. So, but now that I've experienced it and I know what I know and I've seen what I've seen, my response is still going to be, you know, do make the best decision for you and your family. I mean, it's, you know, these kids have worked their whole entire life, and, you know, this is their moment to get everything they want out of it. So I want them to do, you know, whatever's best for them and their family. But the one thing that I will say is there is no experience like an HBCU experience. I mean, it is just something, it's a sense of community. It's a sense of family. It's like you're in a fraternity. I'm talking about wherever you go. I mean, I can speak for me personally. Wherever I go, I run into Howard people all over the world. I just ran into a Howard person today, as a matter of fact, when I was just out and about. And it's something special about having that bond, that HBCU bond. And another thing is I would tell them specifically to what you asked in regards to exposure or trying to get to the next level. If you're good, they're going to find you no matter where you are, especially if you're really good. Let's take Zion, for instance. Zion could have played basketball on the moon, and he was going to still be the number one pick in the draft. So my whole thing is, and I know we'll get into this and get into the book, but my whole thing is, if you're talented and you have that type of ability, just imagine if you took your talents along with other elite athletes and went to an HBCU, the difference that could make. And the thing, too, is it's going to need to be trailblazers. The initial kids that go or make this decision to go to an HBCU, they're not going to reap the benefits of all the effects that we see the PWIs have in regards to the big arenas, the multi-million-dollar facilities, because all that's going to come afterwards, the TV contracts and everything. But we need that first group to go to be the trailblazers. And that's what was so key about my story that I told, because you have to be realistic. It needs to be something that's going to get these kids to go initially. And in my story, what follows, it was a social justice incident. And, social justice is so, prevalent right now in regards to police shootings of unarmed black men, all the Kaepernick, everything that Kaepernick was protesting for, all of that. So I thought, how perfect in regards to timing would it be if these kids made some type of social justice statement in their movement and started this movement, and then you could see what that would ultimately end up doing for HBCUs from a revenue standpoint. It's just, just bringing our HBCUs back to the level that they were at before.
And I totally agree. I agree with the standpoint of you got to do what's best for you. And I also live by that quote. If they want you, they will find you no matter where you are. And that's one of the things that I think a lot of people don't realize, and we have to drive that and tell more of our upcoming athletes. We have to tell more, not just guys, girls as well. We have to tell more of them that, there are different avenues. They will find you. We're not living in the early 2000s. We're now at 2020 where we have technology. We have black media. We have different avenues as to where people can find you through Twitter, Instagram, social media, Snapchat, whatever it is. Coaches are finding these athletes like that every single day. So whatever they need, they can find those students wherever they are. So talk to us now about the book. Talk about the book and what you did with the book and the reason for the book.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for asking me that. So the book is called What Follows. And like I said, with me being a former Division I basketball player at Howard University, one of the things I used to say to a couple of my teammates, and we would have the discussion, is what, especially pertaining to like the Fab Five, we were like, man, can you imagine if the Fab Five had gone to Howard or gone to FAMU or Morgan State or Hampton, whatever it might have been? Can you just imagine the impact that would have had? And so even going back to my uncle's time, people have been saying this for years. My uncle used to say it. I've had coaches say it before. Everybody's been saying, what if, what if, what if? Well, I was tired of hearing what if and saying what if. I wanted to do something about it. So I said, okay, we've been saying what if for years, but nobody's ever told the story of it actually happening. So that's when I said to myself, I was like, you know what? I need to make this happen. And I came out with a synopsis for it like 5 years ago, because my dream, my vision for it is to be a movie. That was the whole point of me coming up with the synopsis. I wanted to bring this to the big screen so that our youth could see this and, maybe it could make a difference. And then so that's what led me to start the first steps of just going ahead and writing the book and getting the idea out there in the atmosphere. And the book is about Chance Knight. First of all, it's called What Follows, and it's about Chance Knight, who is the number one player in the nation. So think of like a Zion or think of like a LeBron when they were a senior in high school. That's what Chance Knight is. He's on that level. Now, Chance Knight is already headed to, he has his 3 top schools that he's going to, that he's going to choose between, I should say. It's Kentucky, it's Maryland because he's from Maryland, and it's also Duke. So those are his final three, and he's approaching the time where he has to make his decision. Now, and I don't want to tell, I don't want to give the story away, but essentially, a social justice incident takes place that is deeply personal to Chance, and it causes him to change his decision last minute to attend an HBCU. I won't give away which HBCU it is, just to keep everybody interested in that aspect of it. But in his decision to go to this HBCU, his teammates that played with him on his AAU team were also top-level elite 5-star athletes, which many of the people played, together nowadays on the AAU teams. It's like a group of them. So they were affected by this incident as well. And in support of Chance, they decide to team up and go to an HBCU. And that's where the title comes in, what follows, because when these elite athletes think the Fab Five going to an HBCU, when they make this decision, what's going to follow their decision?
Man, I'm ordering that book. I want to read it. But you can go ahead and let everybody know Chance Knight chose to go to Valley.
Say that again.
Chance Knight chose to come to Mississippi Valley State University. You can go ahead and let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, and that's the thing. This story, Chance Knight, no matter which HBCU it is that he chooses in this story, that can be any HBCU.
Right.
It can be any HBCU. So whatever your HBCU is, whatever your HBCU you went to, or whatever HBCU you support, that could happen, and that could potentially change the entire landscape of college sports, because it could be a snowball effect. If you have one group that does this, and it needs to be an HBCU that is a D1 HBCU. I'm talking about initially a D1 HBCU that has an automatic bid in the tournament. So, for example, the MEAC has that, as well as the SWAC, where whoever wins that tournament, they get an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. So if you have this elite group of athletes, let's say like the Fab Five that goes to an HBCU, and then they win the tournament, which of course they are, they're going to go to the NCAA tournament, and then that's where they can make the big time noise. Mm-hmm. And, depending on what they do there, I mean, that could just have a huge snowball effect on other athletes. One other thing I want to say too, not only if a group went like that, but look right now, LeBron James's son, Bronny, is playing in high school right now. Now, he's only a freshman, and as you guys know, he's already been offered scholarships from a couple of HBCUs already, North Carolina Central and North Carolina A&T.
Right.
Now, of course, by the time he's a senior, he's going to have offers from everybody, Duke, North Carolina, everybody. But can you imagine if somebody on that level, LeBron James' son, started this trend? D. Wade's son, Lala Anthony's son. Like, can you imagine if they were the ones that started this?
Speaking of this comes to mind. Last year, there were 2 first-round draft picks from the same state. They both excelled in college basketball. They're both from South Carolina, and I think both of their parents. You know what 2 I'm talking about. Both of their parents, I think, have roots in HBCUs. That's Ja Morant and Zion Williamson. You mentioned him earlier.
Yep.
What if those 2 guys would have joined the South Carolina State basketball program? And, Zion, even though he's injured right now, look what he did at Duke. Look what Ja Morant did at Murray State. Those 2 guys.
And Zion came off this weekend balling, so he ain't injured no more. Because he put up some numbers this weekend. He put up some numbers this weekend.
Right.
But it would be nice to see your story happen. If Zion would have chosen, or Morant would have chosen to tag team up and go to an HBCU. If LeBron D. Wade's son says, you know what, we don't need to go to North Carolina. We're going to go to an HBCU and change the culture. Everyone feels like they need to trailblaze at Duke, North Carolina. Trailblaze for an institution that really needs the trailblazer. North Carolina and Duke don't need any more trailblazers. North Carolina has Michael Jordan. Duke has Grant Hill. They don't need any more. the HBCUs need the trailblazers, and in your book, Chance Knight is that trailblazer. One question I wanted to ask, with you saying that you wanted to make this movie into a movie, this book into a movie, is there going to be a sequel? Because like you did Chance Knight as basketball, you can do it from a football aspect. You can do it from and Kels, you already know what's my favorite sport after football, women's basketball aspect. And even other sports, just to keep the stories going on about these top-ranked athletes, choosing HBCUs for whatever reason, and just what their lives are like at that HBCU as they transition into being a student athlete at a historically black college and university, and being successful in the classroom and on the playing field, court, diamond, whatever sport it is, and then transitioning to hopefully a professional future. So what do you see yourself making a series out of this book?
It's so funny you said that. That's a wonderful question. So when I was doing my book signing in Bowie, Maryland, I had a few people come up to me and ask me about that. If I'd be doing a sequel, and they were telling me the same things, like some of the exact same stuff that you said. Man, if you do this for women's basketball, if you do this for this or that. As a student saying, people have been coming up to me and saying that. People have been reaching out to me on social media. When's part 2 coming? And all of that. So that is something that I absolutely would be willing to do. In regards to what you were asking about in regards to the movie, so what I'm hoping that happens with this story, with what follows, is I want this story to be told across as many platforms as possible. Now that the book's out, I would like it to be turned into a film. I would like it to be turned into Netflix. And you hit one thing on the nail when you said a series, like in regards to books. That would be amazing. But imagine a Netflix series of this as well. Do you know how many? Can you envision how many seasons you could do of this?
Yes.
Especially once you switch it up, like with what you're talking about, and crossing over different sports, whatever it might be. I mean, it's a world of possibilities what you could do with this on Netflix.
Right. And then get the actual HBCUs to get on board and actually have the series shot at various HBCUs depending on the story. And first one got to be valid though.
and you just hit it on the nail. Now let's take it a step further. Imagine it not only being shot on those HBCU campuses. Imagine it having HBCU actors and actresses. Imagine it being produced and directed by an HBCU director. I mean, what you have Will Packer. Will Packer's an HBCU director. You have Spike Lee. He's an HBCU director. I mean, they are out there. And the actors are all over the place. You have Terrence J. You have Lala. That was at Howard Lee.
Chadwick Boseman.
Say that again.
Chadwick Boseman.
Yes, Boseman.
And then you have regular people like Derek and I that bring the story to the limelight.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were gonna want me to be in front of the camera. I'm camera shy. Let me be in the background where I belong. Get you be out there and be in front of the camera. Let me just talk.
And one thing I wanted to say to you guys is, how we talk about the PWIs and the young athletes making these decisions, and they see the bright lights, they see the multi-million-dollar facilities and all of that. Why in the world do you think Kentucky and Duke and North Carolina have all that? It's because of the elite black athletes. Can you imagine if the elite black athletes stopped going to those schools and then started going to the HBCUs? What people don't seem to realize is we're the reasons they have all that. So therefore, if you change the narrative and we start going to HBCUs, it will then be the rest follows. It will then be the HBCUs that ultimately have the multi-million-dollar facilities, the big arenas, the scouts at the game, the TV contracts, and then all that money goes back into the university, and it boosts the academics, it boosts everything. That's what people don't understand. The reason they have that is because of us.
That's correct.
But no, they want to continue to go play at Kentucky on a court named after Adolph Rupp, a known racist. So they're going and playing on that court and making and they're making that school millions. And then let me take it to another level. Then they're going to the NBA and making millions. And who are they giving millions back to once they're in the NBA? Those PWIs that they were maybe at for 1 year. When they not only could they be generating those millions of dollars for the HBCUs while playing there, but once they go to the NBA and then give back, it would be going back to the HBCUs as well. That's a whole nother level of it.
Right. We'll do it. Well, speaking of that, we do have to give kudos to Chris Paul and Charles Barkley because, those gentlemen have been donating to HBCUs for quite some time. So without that HBCU tie. So we're very thankful for anyone who gives to an HBCU, even though you didn't go to one. But definitely, you're right.
Yeah.
If let's say if LeBron James is going to go to the NBA no matter where he went to college. He went out of high school. So he could have went to a Division II NAIA school, average 100 points a game. He's still going to be a first-round draft pick. If he just wanted to go for the experience. And now that's the HBCU that he rides for. And, being that, hey, that's what LeBron, like Valley, we known for Jerry Rice. Southern University is known for a plethora of players. Grambling known for a plethora of players.
Aeneas Williams, Mel Blunt.
But I'm just saying, when you think of...
You want to act like you know what Southern has.
That's why I said when you think of Valley, Jerry Rice. Southern has a plethora. You just can't say one. Even though we're known for the Deacon as well, but we're mostly known for Jerry Rice. So LeBron could have been known for going to Howard or Hampton, or North Carolina A&T where he's from. He's from Ohio. Okay, HBCU up there. But
Wilberforce.
Wilberforce. Let's say he went to Wilberforce, a HBCU that we don't get a chance to talk about much, but now we are. If LeBron went to Wilberforce, you know what that would do for Wilberforce? LeBron is starting schools. He's pumping back money into his own school. What do you think that would do for a school like Wilberforce, a small HBCU, to have an association with LeBron James? That would be amazing.
Yep, absolutely. It would be.
So,
and not to mention even that, just think about if he had went there and what the name would have did. Just think about, if you fast forward to, him turning back, he's giving back now, sending parents to college, students to college. Think about what he would have done for that university as a whole, because I'm sure he would have pumped back so much money, built up their athletic program. It's just so many things that I think people, we miss the opportunity. And it's not always just them, it's us as well. We miss the opportunity to give back to our communities, because sometimes we don't do things because we don't know. Sometimes we don't understand. People have told us so many things. So in our minds, that's what they think. Oh, it's better to go to these schools. I get more exposure. It's better here. And a lot of times we hear it from our own people. Oh, yeah, if I had this opportunity, I would go there. And I told somebody was having a conversation about whether college was a waste of time. And I said it once and I said 100 times, I would never trade my HBCU experience. No matter how much you tell me about it, I would never trade the experience of going to and matriculating through Southern University. I would never trade that experience.
Amen. Amen. And one of the things is the main fight back you'll hear in regards to this argument is, oh man, please, they're not going to go there. Why would they go there when they could go to North Carolina or whatever the case might be? So that's why it was very important to me in my story to make it something realistic that ties into what we're dealing with right now in society, with everything going on, in the White House and all the, the Colin Kaepernick stuff, every possible social justice, social injustice situation that's going on now in the MAGA world that we're living in. What better opportunity
would it be to take that, to use something like that to be the main reason that these kids decided to go and take their talents to an HBCU? Because it's something that is very possible and very realistic that pertains to society today.
Yes, indeed. I think that is awesome. But Antonio, man, we want to thank you for joining us tonight. Man, I'm going to order the book soon so I can read it, and then when I read it, and if Kels gets it, we can give you a review of it, because I'm excited about reading it. Having you on, telling us about the book and just reading the synopsis, man, I can't wait to see what happens with this story. I hope that it catches fire as far as where you can make a series out of, a series of books, Netflix series, movies, because our story needs to be told. Our stories need to be told as far as, hey, what if this actually could happen? Hypothetically speaking, what if? And
exactly.
tell the story based off how society has been impacting the black athlete. I mean, look at the young man, Jordan. I think Jordan Love, the quarterback from Utah State, how he was treated. And it was, and they say he had drugs on his trunk, but it was actually bird poop. Incidents like that should make a player say, you know what? Let me go home to my people that look like me, where I don't have to worry about this happening. Take my talents here, show out, and then go show out in the league, because I have the talent. I've showcased my ability at the highest level. So let me go somewhere where I will feel welcome. Now, speaking of which, we did have a high-profile athlete, I guess the brother of a high-profile athlete, choose Howard. And you know where I'm going, Kayla Newton. And he came in and led Howard to some heights, and then some things happened, and now he's deciding to leave. Now, this narrative is something that we don't want, and we've been seeing that happen a lot, as our stars are leaving HBCUs to go play at the bigger schools because they feel like they have a better opportunity. And that is a narrative that, goes against what your book is saying. It kind of goes against what us HBCU alums feel should happen. We want to take the guys that they don't want and turn them into stars. We don't need our stars leaving, going to them. So talk about that. What do you think about that aspect? Because we've had a lot of MEAC basketball players, some of the top MEAC basketball players, leave the MEAC and go play in Power 5 or Group of 5 conferences.
Yep, and that's what I was going to say. Each and every one of the Cam Newton, as well as some of the other basketball players you're referring to, I'm almost positive that they were 3-star athletes. Don't get me wrong, they were exceptional athletes and everything, but they were at the 3-star level. I'm talking about the elite. I'm talking about the cream of the crop. I'm talking about the 5-star athletes. Like, for example, let's take Duke, the Zion recruiting class that went to Duke. It was 4 of them, and they were ranked all within the top 10 of the rankings in the nation. You had Zion, you had Cam Reddish, you had the point guard Jones, and then you had R.J. Barrett. So that's 4. That's essentially a Fab 5. It was only 4 of them, a Fab 4 that went to Duke. Imagine if that level of players started going to HBCUs. That's what I'm talking about right there. And specifically what you're asking about, there are, that's a scenario that's a situation I don't know all the details. I know with Cam Newton, younger brother, that was playing at Howard, I know there were some issues there with the coach. And, right after the coach was let go and he decided to leave as well. So I know there was an issue there. But, yeah, so but you also have a lot of people now that, if you've noticed, there's been it's trending up. There's been a lot of people that started off at the Florida States or at the North Carolinas, whatever it might be, particularly in football, that are now transferring in to MEAC schools, so you've been seeing a lot of that. So it's also working the other way around too. But one thing I just wanted to say, I wanted to let people know in regards to this story, what follows, that you can get it on Amazon and you can get it on Barnes & Nobles as well. And then you can also go to my website, which is whatfollowsbook.com. That's whatfollowsbook.com. And it has the direct links to Amazon and Barnes & Noble on there as well.
All right. And we want to thank you. And I'm definitely going to order a book because I'm curious about the story. And now your first time on Black College Experience, you're a guest. So the next time, we don't have to invite you on. You know when the show is, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. When you want to, if you want to call in and talk HBCU sports with us, or if you just at home chilling and you just want to join in the show, man, feel free to call in, chat with us, and drop your knowledge on with us, whatever discussion we're having. We would definitely love to have your opinion on future shows.
I appreciate it so much. I cannot thank you guys enough for this opportunity. I'm so grateful to you. And then one last thing I wanted to say is if there's anybody listening that's in the DMV, the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, I will be at Howard University next Saturday, the Barnes & Nobles at Howard University on February 22nd at 2:30 for a book signing. So if you're in the area, please stop by. I would love to have you come out and hear the discussion and Q&A.
All right. Kels? All right. So, man, have a good night, man. And, like I said, next week you want to call in, the week after that, man, feel free to hit us up.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys. You are the best.
Good luck. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Now, Kels, we got about...
All right. Take care.
We got about 4 minutes left. Got a couple of topics that we can touch. But one, I think this is a good topic because we get into to talk about your Southern Jags. There's been a little bit of an exodus on the coaching staff. And it's a good thing because when you're a football coach, you want a chance to move up. You want a chance to call your own offense. You want the chance to be a head coach. Talk about some of the changes. I'll bet it's good for these coaches, but it's also going to bring change with your Jaguars.
Well, first and foremost, I have to say congratulations to Chennis. I'm actually proud of him, actually excited for him. It gives him a chance, opportunity, first time being a head coach. So he's coming to Benedict, and like I said last week, and I keep saying it's not a change for me because I do a lot of work with the SiAC. So I guess what? I'll still get to see him at Media Day, which will be different, to see him in a different capacity. But with the shift and the change, there were a lot of people that was happy to see that change. But, of course, with Matt Leon going to North Carolina Central, and then the other coach's name just won't come to mind right now. But with those different coaching changes, like Coach you said, Coleman. Now that's it. It's different. It's now a different environment, and now it's a different adjustment that you have to get used to. And the thing is now we're now in February, and then you move. As swiftly as we move, March, April will be here. All the spring training and everything comes up, so there has to be replacements and things. But again, I'm just happy for where they landed. Happy for him again because that's what you want. You want to be a head coach. That's what you put in the work for. And I think when your time is up and your time is expired, you move on. And I think it's a good thing for him. So we'll see what's going to happen for them.
There's a name that that this guy was a head coach in my high school for a couple of years. He has HBCU coaching experience across the board. He played at Tennessee State. What would you say to Chad Germany becoming an offensive coordinator at Southern?
I'm definitely not opposed to it. Only thing, like I always say about everybody coming, I don't care where you've been. I don't care about your past long as it's just not all jacked up. I don't care about your race. I don't care about your gender. As long as you can get the job done, we can win the game. I'm cool.
Yeah, because I'm looking forward to seeing.
You can win, I'm good.
Because I'm looking forward to seeing who Coach Odom's hires for the quarterbacks coach, offensive coordinator, and I think wide receivers coach. Because I think the running backs coach is still there, and the tight ends coach is still there. So right now you're working with a skeleton crew on offense, but we know Coach Odom's. He's going to have a plan. I mean, even though I'm a Delta Devil, being around the Jaguar program, Coach Odom's going to have a plan. He has time because spring is coming, and you do want to have your coaching staff finalized before the spring happens, just to get everybody used to the system that you want to run. So I can't wait to find out who Coach Odom brings on staff and get your Jaguars ready to defend your SWAC West crown, Kels. So go ahead and close us out.
So closing out, this weekend coming up, well, I must say that I'm super excited because this weekend coming up is the Black College Football Hall of Fame enshrinement. And then on Friday, they are going to do, I guess, like the question and answer. It's always like the pre-gamer for Saturday's enshrinement. So just like they do for the College Football Hall of Fame or the NFL, the same way they just do it the night before. So they're actually doing maybe a Q&A or something like that. Also at the College Football Hall of Fame on Friday from I think 5 to 9, and I told them I would stop in because the College Football Hall of Fame was asking me if I was coming in. So I said I would stop in, but the enshrinement is on Saturday. So once again, I'm excited about that because I get to cover that. But the biggest thing is that I will finally, after all this time, I'll finally get to meet Robert Mathis face to face.
Awesome.
Now, keep in mind, he went to A&M. We were at the same church or in the same space, the same capacity. And we never just face to face. So I will get a chance to meet Robert this weekend, which I'm truly excited about. But it is. I'm excited about this upcoming weekend.
Yeah, last year you took a picture with Joe Namath. This year, Robert Mathis and a couple other HBCU legends. I'm pretty sure you're gonna get a chance to have a photo ops.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, this is our show for this evening. Once again, this is Derek Thomas for Keisha Kelly and the Black College Experience. We are out of here.
Good night.
Peace out.